And next, for Judge McCaffery, what do you feel are the biggest dangers to our rights, and how can the courts protect those rights?
That's an easy one. You said you were going to give me a softball question. I didn't realize it was going to be a real softball question.
No, I said I wasn't going to call you a prick. That is what I promised I wouldn't do.
I still want that for my campaign literature. Thank you, by the way. As weird as this is going to sound in this group, the biggest threat that we have in the courtroom right now, and in courts across America, not just in state courts, but the national level, is judicial activism. And that's going to sound a little bit funny coming from a Democrat, right? Because for 50, 60 years, we heard people complain, especially on the right, about the judicial activists on the United States Supreme Court and the Burger Court and the Warren Court that were expanding rights, expanding women's reproductive rights through Roe versus Wade, expanding same-sex marriage rights through Obergefell and things of that cases of that nature, expanding minority rights, affirmative action, things of that nature. And what we've seen recently is a contraction of those rights by judges who stood in front of the American public and told the American public that they were qualified and that they would follow precedent, or what we lawyers call stare decisis. So when you ask about the biggest threat to our courts right now, it's really judicial activists who are running for judge not to be fair and impartial, not to be the final arbiter of what's right and wrong in a courtroom, but to impose an agenda on Pennsylvanians and in Americans. And if you can just give me a moment, and you have to excuse me, I spent 30 years in a courtroom, so I like to walk when I talk. Plus, I'm Irish. We just chatter along. But I tell people this all the time, and I think it's important for everybody to understand this. The person you have to thank for where we are right now in America is Donald Trump. I've said that in Democratic functions, and people throw things at me. But I want to tell you why. You see, my mom and dad are from Belfast, Northern Ireland. They immigrated to this country to give their children a better future, a better life. And I've been walking a picket line since I was 4 years old because my mom and dad were both union members and union organizers in Philadelphia. Donald Trump is to be thanked because Donald Trump told America what he was going to do and why he was going to do it. He wasn't interested in putting people on the United States Supreme Court who were fair and impartial. He was interested in putting people on that court to impose an agenda and to roll back the rights that, frankly, we Democrats have taken for granted for the last 60 years. And I tell people two words, and it's important for the two words to be understood in this group, and that's that majorities matter. And I want to explain what that means to you. Bethany just said to you, I sit on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. We are the busiest appellate court in the United States. We handle over 6,500 appeals a year, all right? If Jill Beck and Tamika Lane, Judge Tamika Lane, are victorious and they win, it'll be the first time in my memory that Democrats have had a majority on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. Majorities matter. More importantly, everybody, I asked this question. Donald Trump filed, I have to stop? I'm just getting rolling. All right, Donald Trump filed 61 lawsuits. He won one to overturn the 2020 election. And that was in the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania by a Republican judge. And that case was then overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court with a majority of Democrats. That's why it's critically important that Matt Wolf be elected to the Commonwealth Court. And I'm just going to leave you with one thing, and I know my time's up. But I want everybody to understand this. Roe versus Wade was repealed because we have a majority of right-wing justices on the United States Supreme Court. Affirmative action's been repealed because of the same reason. The most consequential election of our lifetime wasn't Donald Trump, wasn't Joe Biden, wasn't Barack Obama. It was 2015 when we elected 3 justices to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Kevin Dougherty, David Wecht, Christine Donahue. They protected voting rights by declaring the unconstitutional gerrymandered districts. They then protected women's rights, they protected workers' rights. That's why we're standing here today, because majorities on these courts matter. When you elect Democrats, Democrats will stand up and protect women's reproductive rights. We will protect workers' rights. We will protect same-sex marriage rights. And that's why I'm running for courts. That's why you need to elect Democrats to these courts.
All right. Mic drop. No, don't drop it.